Hello, and welcome back for another week of the Barefoot Preacher. Well, we are continuing on in this series, and we still have more gray days of winter out here, but we can still study God's Word. So today we are going to look at Matthew 7, verses 1 through 5. This is probably one of the most quoted areas of the Bible, but also one of the more twisted or misused areas. So I will read and go from there. So Matthew 7, starting at verse 1. Judge not, that you be not judged. For with what judgment you judge, you will be judged, and with the measure you use, it will be measured back to you. And why do you look at the speck in your brother's eye, but do not consider the plank in your own eye? Or how can you say to your brother, let me remove the speck from your eye, and look, a plank is in your own eye? Hypocrite, first remove the plank from your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. That's where we'll end our reading at for today. And these verses are part of Jesus' Sermon on the Mount that goes from Matthew 5 through Matthew 7. And the section on judge not is also repeated in Luke 6. But let's look at the first verse here. It says, judge not, that you be not judged. And that is a very commonly repeated line for some people, that if someone comments on something that is going wrong, that is kind of obvious, then someone can come back and shake a fist or a finger. Well, judge not, lest you be judged. I repeat, really? Is that your judgment? Or, as is written here in my Evidence Bible, I have a quote from Paul Washer. People tell me, judge not, lest ye be judged. I always tell them, twist not Scripture, lest ye be like Satan. So, what is really going on here? Well, everyone pretty well judges things around them. And sometimes they're good and sometimes they're not. As we see here in later verses, we need to be careful in what judgment we are using. That first, we put it on ourselves. So if someone is having trouble with, say, theft, I'll go with that. Let's say if I'll go an extreme example, that if someone has robbed a bank, but yet they judge their, say, brother for stealing a pencil from their employer. It's like, well, that's being a hypocrite, and needs to judge himself. Now, this is kind of an extreme example, but it says we need to first remove the plank from our own eye before we can remove the speck for someone else's eye. So that way we can see clearly. So, is it ever wrong to judge people? Well, not really, because we need to be able to help them to direct their path as well. So, say if you saw a child sitting in the street again, and a truck was coming at them, you could say, well, they're happy where they're at, and they're enjoying themselves. Who am I to judge if I should tell them to move or not? Well, we know that they're on a dangerous path, and therefore we need to move them, or have them tell them to move. If not, then physically move them. Or something else that we could look at is, if you see someone who is visually impaired and they start going down a path that has signs written on it, possible landmines ahead, well, you would warn them of the danger that is ahead and direct them on the right path. And when we tell someone the moral law or the Ten Commandments, this is along the lines of what we're doing. That if they don't know, they are going astray. And if they are not told, then the end result will be that they get more problems or eternal punishment instead of not being redirected to the path they need to be. When it says, "Judge not, that you be not judged," we need to be very careful not to just take a single verse out of context. Say, I like a series that Justin Peters' ministry has done. I'll try to put a link up in the description, but he does a series that is called Igno Montoya, I believe. That I do not think that verse says what you think it says. And this is one of them that he has done, and does a lot better job than I do, so I'll try and link to it. But as we move forward, we're definitely going to be looking upon this verse and seeing areas that we can help people, or maybe those that are watching. And we got to remember that we are not judging someone to be cruel to them or just to puff ourselves up, which is a common way that people like to judge or to condemn others, but to help redirect them toward a path that is not dangerous and that will lead to everlasting life instead of everlasting torment in hell. So, just a shorter version today, but we will be looking at much more in depth for coming weeks. So, that is it for now. Again, thank you for watching, and see you next time.